I think we're ready to go. We can go ahead and start. Can you all hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay, great. And Rosa, can you go ahead and start recording? Hi, John Laporte.
Morning.
Hang on just a minute. I'm going to ask Rosa to start the recording for us before we start. Are you able to start recording? Yeah, it's running. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Well, okay, so we can go ahead and get going. We're recording. Thank you, everyone, for taking a few minutes to talk with us about this training. We've been working really hard at pulling everything together, and I know there have been some delays in part because of the government shutdown and lots of layers. So thank you for your patience. So what I'd like to start with is just a quick round of introductions, and maybe we can start with Esther Lynn. Esther is our primary contact person at FSA USDA. Esther, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Testing with the mic here. So hi, good morning. My name is Esther Lynn. I am an outreach specialist with the Farm Service Agency. And I'm just really excited that we are finally at that point where we're getting ready to roll out. So I guess I just want to say thank you to everybody for joining us on this journey. This is something that our employees have been asking for the last year, is more resources to support them, especially as they're working with farmers and ranchers who they're increasingly seeing are stressed when they come into the office. And these are, farmers and ranchers who are our employees, neighbors, and people, they're in the same community together. They live, close to each other. They see each other when they go to church, go to the grocery store. And so, this is something that our employees have been asking for, and we're really excited to be able to finally roll this out. The folks that you'll be talking to, starting next week, we can talk a little bit about who they are in a little bit, but they represent 28 states for us, and have about 550 folks that you all will be talking to, and we're really excited to see how this goes and learn from this experience before we roll out across the country.
Thank you, Esther. Courtney, would you like to introduce yourself as well?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Courtney Cuthbertson. I'm a community behavioral health specialist at Michigan State University Extension, and I am a co-PI with Mark on the project.
Thanks, Courtney. And then just, it'd be really great to have each of you quickly introduce yourselves. I'm not sure if you all know each other or not. So Lori, why don't you go ahead and start?
All right, I'm Lori Zerrill, and I'm a family living educator in Pierce County, Wisconsin. It's over by Ellsworth and River Falls. And then I'm also 50% state liaison for a couple of our institutes.
Thanks, Lori. Why don't we stay in Wisconsin with John?
Hey everybody, I'm John Schutzke. I'm a faculty member in Biological Systems Engineering, UW-Madison, but I also have a significant extension appointment. I've been doing work in stress for probably going back to the droughts we had in the upper Midwest back in 1988. So.
Wow. And John Leatherman?
Hi, I'm John Leatherman. I'm at Kansas State University in the Department of Agricultural Economics. I've been doing quite a little bit by way of health-related education, rural health in particular. And so I think that's how I hooked up with Mark and the center at Michigan State University.
Thanks, John. Andrea?
I'm Andrea Bjornstead. I'm a faculty member at South Dakota State University, and I'm the Extension Mental Health Specialist for SDSU Extension as well. And like all of you, I've been doing a lot of work with the mental health of farmers and ranchers within the past 3 years.
And thank you, Andrea. And Pam?
Good morning. I'm Pam Shellhorn. I'm a community and economic development educator with University of Illinois Extension. And I actually was the first woman agricultural lender in the state of Illinois back in 1987. So I actually was a ag lender and commercial lender through the ag crisis in the late 80s. So I know what your FSA employees are going through right now.
Thanks, Pam, and then also John Laporte.
Good morning, everyone. John Laporte. I'm a farm management educator with MSU Extension, and actually back in my former life was a farm loan officer for USDA here in Michigan. So have some understanding what the loan officers are going through and the personnel they're going through as well.
Yeah, thanks, John. Thanks to everyone for helping with this project. And John, I love your picture with Captain America there. That's pretty cool.
Thanks. That's from this last fall, so wasn't all that too long ago.
Okay.
You look familiar from our videos.
Yeah, you're very well known too.
Yeah, a little bit famous compared to the other guy.
We also have two others who will be helping us, Jamie Delafield and Caitlin Macy, who weren't able to join the call today, unfortunately, but we're recording this session, so we'll share it with you and them, and you can use this as a, any kind of resource guide and reminder. So you all know that next week we will start the training with these Zoom sessions that you're leading. And what I wanted to do today, Courtney and I will tag team on this, is just walk through sort of what we're going to do with the Zoom training, and then the sort of the outline and how you're going to share the framework for setting them up for doing the online modules. And as you know, there are 3 online modules that are being prepared, and so after they finish the Zoom session the following week, they will have access to units 1 and 2. And right now, we are working on module 3. And so we want to give ourselves a little buffer to finalize that. But we'll share a draft with you before the end of the week so that you have that context as well. And as soon as it is done, we will, they'll have a chance to do units 1 and units 2. And then unit 3 will be made available probably that first week of the training, so that they'll have access to it. And you will have access to see it so that you have that context as well before the Zoom sessions, before the end of the week. Okay, so Esther, you had talked briefly about who the participants are. Each of you know that in each Zoom session there will be about 25 to 30 people, farm services employees, who will be joining with you. And in total, there will be 550 people taking this first round of training. And our ultimate objective is to use this training to get those who are in areas that have maybe the highest level of stress and financial issues in the farm sector, and provide this training to them. But ultimately, we will fine-tune the training and make the online portion available to the entire FSA staff. So we're going to do a round of pre and post evaluations as part of this and get feedback. Your feedback after we've gone through it will be very important. We'll have a chance to revise it before we finalize and make it available to up to 10,000 people. So that's sort of the big picture. So we've divided these first 550 people into groups of about 25 or 30. And so in each Zoom session that you lead, you'll have a group of about that many people participating. 70% of the 550 are people who work directly with farmers, farm loan officers and technicians, outreach specialists. About 30% are more in the managerial component, farm loan chiefs and programs, district directors, county executive directors, state specialists, as well as one state executive director, Esther, would you like to add anything else in terms of the audience who they will be leading or facilitating?
Yeah, and thanks, Mark. After you and I talked this morning, I went back and looked through our spreadsheet again, and it's probably safe to say that 90% of the folks who will be participating, closer to 90%, are actually, employees who work directly with farmers and ranchers every day. Some of them are in managerial roles, so our county executive director, our farm loan managers, and it just happens to be that, those tend to be the folks who get some of our more challenging cases, or are tasked with working with some of our producers who are in a difficult situation. But for the most part, it's our program technicians at the counter who see farmers as they walk through the door. It's our farm loan managers and officers, our county executive directors.
Okay, great, thanks. And so what we'd like to do now is share with you the PowerPoint that you'll use to guide your facilitated discussion. And we'll just kind of walk through it. And then what I'd like to do is ask for your feedback, because you'll be sent the PowerPoint. My first question to you is are you all familiar with using Zoom and then sharing your screen? Like if you go, for example, right now we're all on Zoom, you clicked on the link, and then if you go down to the lower, you'll see a bar where it says share, and then you can share your PowerPoint presentation. And so as people come online, you'll welcome them and then begin walking through this PowerPoint, which will hopefully lead to a nice discussion about what the purpose of the training is, and try to get the buy-in, and maybe even get some examples or stories from the group about some challenges that they may have faced, along the way. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
Mark, can I just ask a quick question?
Sure, anytime.
All right. So I've been trained and I've done it before, and I know in Wisconsin, often our colleagues recommend there being two people, one to help manage the technology if need be, and the other person presenting. Had you thought about that, or should we just plan for that on our own if we feel we need it?
We did actually think about it, and we know that that's best practice, but we decided to go this route. If you'd like to have a partner help you, I understand that, but we did not set it up this way. We felt that it was a straightforward enough kind of discussion and presentation that you could handle it on your own.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm gonna.
And Mark.
Yes.
This is Esther. I will be on all the calls, so if it's helpful to have me as a backup, whether it's to just keep an eye out for questions or what have you. Happy to do
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mark, I also have a question.
Sure.
The Zoom technology, is that something that we need to have available on our end, on our machines and all of that, or how do we access that?
You access it. Rosa will start each session. So all you have to do is link on to the same link that you just used.
Great.
Okay. Now, in your case, John, you're going to have to work with your audio because you're not very clear right now. You may need a headset or something.
I will take care of that.
We can work with you on that. Okay.
Mark, I think there might have been another question. Did someone else have a question as well?
Actually, I did, but I wasn't quite able to hear John's question. I'm assuming then we don't need our own Zoom account. We'll come on to what we get invited into, but it looks like we'll need this PowerPoint presentation on our local machine because we'll be sharing our screen, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
We will send you the final version of this PowerPoint, and then when you enter into discussions and introduce yourself, you will load that, you'll have this PowerPoint and you'll share your screen. Also, when you start, you'll have the opportunity to have people do a chat discussion. So up above, you can see, you should see on your screen opportunity for chat, and you have a window here for chat. And you can ask people to type in questions if they'd like, but they're also free to ask questions or make comments, you know, as you introduce the training. So you can do either way or both. Okay. And then also Rosa is our technology person here at the NCR-CRD. So if you have any questions or just want to do a quick practice with her, she's happy to work with you on the technology just to confirm that everything is a go for you. Okay. And so Rosa has been a part of the email lists and distribution, so you have her contact information. Okay, so what Courtney and I would like to do now is just kind of walk through the draft PowerPoint, and then if you have any questions, and then along the way, please let us know. And then and what I'd really like is what additional items do you need to lead the discussion, right? So we have this content. We think you're very familiar with what we're trying to accomplish here. But if there's something else that you need in addition, we'd like to know that so that we can have all those resources to you and ready for you, so you feel comfortable and ready to go and prepared to lead, facilitate the discussion. So the program is called Farm Stress Employee Training and Technical Assistance. And so what, you just introduce welcome to, and we're really glad you're here, etc. And then our purpose. And Esther and I were just talking a few minutes ago, and we're going to try to get one of our FSA administrative leaders to provide a short 1-minute video to include right here, where you can click and show the video just to kind of get the perspective from the administration about the importance of this program. And as Esther said, this was asked for by FSA personnel. So again, one of the goals is to help them see the purpose of the training and then get buy-in. And I think some of this, maybe hopefully along the way, some of the stories at the end when you ask questions, they'll say, yeah, I did have somebody who was really struggling, and this was the challenge. And so our goal is to help build capacity to deal and work with and help farmers who may be experiencing significant financial challenges, which translate into major stressors in their lives. Esther and I had talked about this. We do have a pre and post evaluation, and we thought it might be best to have them just go ahead and take this. We anticipate it will be between 5 and 8 minutes for them to complete a short questionnaire, and it's designed to collect information about some background information about them, how long they've been working with FSA, what their position is, etc., as well as some basic knowledge point. We anticipate about 9 questions to assess their current knowledge base. And so we'll ask them to do this. And what you'll have to do is type in the link into the chat, okay, in order to do this. So they'll have to then cut and paste that and go ahead and link into Qualtrics and take a few minutes to go ahead and complete that questionnaire. And that's our pre-evaluation. When we do the second Zoom session, we're also going to ask the same set of knowledge-based questions at the end, and then some questions about, just a few questions about the training, what maybe they'd like to see or what they found most valuable. And so they'll see the same set of knowledge questions at the front end, along with just a few questions about sort of their role at FSA and their characteristics. And then at the end, the second Zoom session that you'll lead, they'll also have the same knowledge-based questions, as well as a few questions about the training that we can get some feedback on, and maybe something that they really would have liked to have seen but we didn't have, or some, you know, what their most valuable part was, that kind of thing. So those are the two pieces. On the front end, we'll ask about their characteristics. On the back end, we won't do that. We don't need to do it again. And we'll be able to link those two together and do a pre-post kind of evaluation. Okay, so again, you may want to make a note of this. I'll try to make some notes for you as well. But you'll have to put the link to the Qualtrics in chat in order for them to cut and paste it and then go into the link themselves. Any questions about that? Yeah.
Sorry. So will they be asked their names so that you can link this one to their final one? Yes. Okay. So maybe a note up front then about why we're asking them to put their name on it? Yeah.
Well, I'll make a note. I'll add that to this this slide here. And then we will, at the end, we'll also eliminate the names, right? So the purpose is to be able to match the pre and post, to measure learning, and be able to help us improve the training. But once we have those linked together, the names will be eliminated.
We can include language as well that says the names will be kept confidential and not individual responses will not be shared.
Yes. I'm just making a note here. Okay. So that will take a few minutes up front for them to do this. But we felt, and I think Esther, sort of suggested this, that this would be better than trying to ask them to do it separately, that we'll just, get their time all together at once, and that will be a little more effective and efficient for them to go through everything. Okay, so we have a little bit of background about financial stress, and thus emotional stress, and Adam Kentrovich is going to provide just a short video about maybe 3 minutes or so, or just to outline the challenges that the farm sector is currently facing and how that's playing out. Yeah. Was there a question?
Mark, I was just going to say something. It's Esther.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see a slide at the beginning, maybe I missed it, but I think it might be helpful to start the conversation with giving the folks on the employees who are on the call a sense of who else is going to be in the discussion with them. And it might help you get some more responses and questions over the course of each of you get more engagement with employees over the course of the session if you start out by maybe asking employees what they are seeing and what they might find helpful in farm stress training, like what they would like to learn about or talk about.
So what we had thought we would, so we can change that, but just as you go down through here at the end, we do ask several questions like that. Would you think that, and this is for the whole group, Esther, as well as everyone else, would you like to see those kinds of questions up front?
Sorry, I don't want to speak for anybody else, but it might be helpful just to have almost like an icebreaker question to start. That's what I mean. Not necessarily like jump into the content to start, but I think you'll get more engagement with the chat function or with asking people to speak up with questions if you start out with some kind of opportunity for engagement.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So even if it's like, can you share one challenging situation that you had in the last few months, right? Or something that might have stressed you out. I don't know. It would take a little bit of thought, but something like that. And to also explicitly call out, like, we want you to ask questions during the course of the discussion. Don't wait till the end. we find that that helps a little bit. Employees tend to be a little reticent with speaking up, so the more we can do to encourage that, the better.
Another thought to add on to that is we could actually highlight the fact that these are the questions we are going to actually discuss these questions at the end, but we want them to be thinking about this as we go through our session with them that day, so that they're constantly thinking about these topics as we go through, that then at the end we can say, go back into the, what are some of those mental health challenges, or even more specifically, what do you hope is going to be in this training, that we've kind of given you a highlight of what's to come. What are some things you're still looking for that maybe we can, if not include in some of these, but maybe on later on other resources and so on.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, so let's, we'll add a slide to maybe have some sort of icebreaker question. And John, I think your suggestion of putting these up front and saying, these are some things we'd like you to think about as we kind of talk about the nature of the course, and you can be chewing on that as we walk through, and then we can have this discussion at the end.
Mark, I just have one quick question. Are we going to introduce ourselves, first slide or second slide?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't see that, but maybe I just, right there on the first slide?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll add an additional slide that you can add your name and your contact. At the end, there's your name and contact information, but we should really have a specific slide for you to introduce yourself. Okay, so we have this background slide on the financial side. We also have this background about mental health and the importance it is for farm productivity. And then a really nice 3-minute video from Dr. Michael Rossman that I won't take. If there's time later on, I'll click on the link and we can view it. It's a 3-minute video just talking about the agricultural imperative and sort of how it plays out for a farmer in real life and the challenges they face. So when we share this, you can click on it. But I just want to make sure we get through sort of the overall framework first, and if there's time, we can come back to it. So you'll see there'll be maybe a 3-minute video from Adam Kantrovich about sort of the farm economy and the financial stressors that many farmers are facing, and then we'll have this video about sort of how that translates into health for farmers by Dr. Rossman. And then that'll step into sort of more specific objectives about the training, which we have shared with you. So we're going to do training on physical safety, mental and emotional health, increased skill of employees in communicating with producers who may be experiencing financial stress, and de-escalating tense or potentially aggressive interactions. And you have seen units 1 and 2, so you kind of know what that looks like, and we're finalizing and revising those based on your feedback, so thank you. You'll see the final product before you start your trainings for units 1 and 2, and you'll also see unit 3 that's will be close to final. We're also developing stronger connectivity between FSA field offices and local resource partners that can help serve producers who are experiencing stress, and then strengthen the mental and physical health of FSA personnel. So the layout of the training is first focus on being able to manage your own stressors, then step into how you can be a resource for farmers and ranchers who are experiencing stress. And then the third unit is really about safety and de-escalation, and how do you talk with somebody who may be experiencing a high level of stress. And of course, not everybody who experiences those kinds of stressors are violent or aggressive, but there are some people who can go that route. And so how, in that special case, what resources can we provide and help to de-escalate? I want to take a moment and ask Courtney to add anything at this point.
I think you've been doing a great job, Mark.
Okay, I'll keep going, but Courtney, please chime in along the way as we walk through this. The project team is listed here, including all of you. Esther, should we also include FSA personnel on the front end of this?
Sure. And when you say that, you mean, what do you mean?
You.
Who's been working on it, kind of a thing?
Who the key folks are we've partnered with. I think would be you and Latrice and.
Yeah, maybe you want to just stick to offices. That actually might be helpful to give them a sense that all of headquarters has been engaged on this. So, and some folks in the field. I can send you some language.
Okay, that would be great. Thanks.
Hi, Mark. My last name is spelled incorrectly.
Uh-oh.
Big deal, but there's a sneaky E after the N.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
All right,
It's sneaky.
we'll get it fixed. Thank you.
We may also want to spell out the states because there are multiple MSUs and all of that.
Okay.
It might help with buy-in if the MSU is unclear.
Great.
I'm just kidding.
Universities. Okay. And so the curriculum outline, there are some farm stress resources that we've already provided to FSA, and they've shared those, and we'll add a link. Well, we have a link in the next page or two. We have, and this is how it's laid out, and I think to some degree the folks on the Zoom call will already have some of this information, but we're just kind of laying it out a little more systematically. We're having, as part of the training, 2 small group discussions using the Zoom distance technology. We'll have self-paced learning through 3 modules in an online AgLearn platform, and you've seen the first 2. The third one's coming. And then we have, as part of the program, an in-person training to practice skills and use the knowledge gained. And right now, we are not sure how that's going to play out with the government shutdown for nearly a month. There's a question about travel and other pressures. So we're still kind of in process of thinking about how we might accomplish that component.
Yeah, and if folks would be able to just say that that's proposed. I know that we fully intend on doing it and having some form of in-person training, but just for the purposes of sharing it with the field, I think for now we should say proposed.
Okay.
We don't have concrete plans yet. And you all might want to also mention just, the farm stress resources employees have seen that toolkit, but just so you have language that will resonate with them, we have issued a notice. That is the way we send guidance out to our field employees. We've issued a notice, and then on our FSA, our agency intranet site, INTRANET, on our internal website, there are additional resources that we continue to post as we come across them. And that link is identified in the notice. So you might just want to call that out and remind employees that those pages will continue to, that page will continue to be updated, and they can go back to that over the course of the AgLearn trainings, because we're going to post all the videos and documents that MSU is sharing in the AgLearn training on that site for reference purposes.
So Esther, what I was planning to do was provide here it is. We have the link on the notices right here. So for all of you who are doing this, will receive this PowerPoint, you can click on this link. Should we just have the link explicit in here, or type it into the chat session?
Sure, and I'll give you the, oh, I guess that wouldn't work. I was gonna say I'll give you the link for our internal site too, so people can see where it is, but that doesn't work for everybody else.
Well, we can.
I'm sorry, Mark.
Provide 2 links.
Okay.
you know what might be helpful, Mark, is that if you've got any notes like this for us, to put those notes in the PowerPoint under the notes section. I would really appreciate that. I'm trying to take notes here, but I don't know what slides you're on, so it'd just be easier.
Yeah. We'll do our best to add all of the relevant notes to these pieces as well.
We may also get the question from people participating in the call about whether they will have access to this PowerPoint. So is that something that we want to distribute or no?
It's perfectly fine from my end. Esther, how about you?
Yeah, that's fine. And we can also post this on our internal page too.
Great.
Yeah. Okay. So
along with the recording when that's ready, right? We can post that too.
Yeah. We will give this to the 550 as well. I think that would be helpful to do that. Okay.
Hey, Mark, can I ask, I have actually several like little logistical questions on all of this.
Yeah.
So this starts on Friday, or does it start on the 11th?
On the 11th.
Okay. And then like I was looking through the doodle. This is based on the dates we signed up for on the doodle. So like I think Courtney was one of the first presenters. And is it possible for those of us that are going like later, like I don't actually come up, I think until April, would we be able to maybe watch one of these after the fact or beyond with the first couple groups just to kind of see how it goes? Is that something that might be possible?
Yeah, we were planning to record some of these sessions and then make them available for people to view how they went. You know, in the second Zoom session, it'll be sort of reviewing after they've gone through the units and the modules. So, John, in your case, the Zoom, your role will be on following up with people about the training.
Okay.
So what we're focusing right now are on this sort of front end, preparing people for the modules. But yeah, we will record one, and then, you know, if there were some nice questions that seem to, you know, be good ones, we'll sort of share that one and say, hey, here's one that went, you know, pretty interestingly with content and information from, you know, from the participants, you know, questions they had or examples, etc. Okay, so you'll walk them through. Well, these resources are already available. We'll provide the links in the notes section, and if you want, you can just put those links right into the chat, and they can click on them. But they will already have that information made available to them. And then we turn into a discussion of the distance discussion sessions. They're of course having one right, you know, in the March session that you're leading right now. So you'll have to let them know there'll be a second round in the week in April 8th through 12th. And they've already signed up for their Zoom session there as well. So they have their dates already marked. And the purpose of these sessions is to provide information, answer questions, problem solve, encourage discussion, potentially challenging situations that they have encountered. And then, of course, they will have all the information to log on and use Zoom and participate with you and that you're facilitating. And so that's sort of the first step in their training. And so, yeah.
Mark and Esther, if people forgot which time or day they signed up for, who do they get in touch with to find out that information?
They would get in touch with Rosa. Or, yeah, I think that would, well.
Mark, why don't you have them get in touch with me?
Okay.
And I'll work with Rosa.
Okay.
Would it be possible?
Does that work, Courtney? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Would it be possible just to send out a list of when everybody's facilitating, the date and time of everybody's facilitation?
I was going to ask the same thing.
You just want a list?
Yeah, a calendar or a list of the dates, times, and who's facilitating.
Yeah.
And Mark, will you all be able to, sorry, all these logistical questions, will you be able to see, you and Courtney, who from our staff have signed up for which session? Or will Rosa be able to see that?
Yeah, Rosa, we could actually even include a list of those people on which dates and times.
I think that'd be good, because then we can identify what state they're from, which might be helpful to you all as instructors. We have quite a bit of Wisconsin folks, quite a bit of Kansas folks, and some of the other states that you all mentioned.
Yeah, we'll get that list together. That's a really good suggestion. But
And that way I don't have to ping Rosa every single time too if somebody forgets their sign up, their time.
Right. Okay. So after they have finished their round 1 of Zoom discussions with you, and as you walk through this, the following week, they'll engage in the web-based training, and they're going to learn about specific farm stress related topics. There'll be 3 self-paced modules, and everybody will have information about how to access those modules via the internal learning delivery system called AgLearn. Okay, so Esther will, I think most FSA personnel know how to do that, and they will have that information, but it's called AgLearn. Okay. So there'll be built-in interactive activities, have you seen, and along with test your knowledge questions. And these test your knowledge questions are very similar to the pre-test questions that they'll ask and the post-test. So, it's sort of just checking in, not meant to be a test per se, but just give them opportunity to consider and think and have feedback. So session 1, you can walk through with them, learn to identify signs of stress and chronic stress, learn techniques to manage stress in oneself, and have a more productive mindset. And that's intended to give them a base frame that can be used in their own lives in managing stress at work and elsewhere, but also it provides the context they need for session 2. Which is increasing awareness of stressors for farmers, learning techniques for identifying, approaching, and working with farmers who may not be coping with stress effectively. We all experience different levels of stress at different times in our lives, and sometimes we manage it well, and sometimes we struggle. And so, how do you identify those times when we're maybe your clients aren't managing it as well? And then developing communication skills to use with distressed farmers. And then in session 3, preparing for challenging situations, de-escalating anger, aggression. And here, as you'll see, we highlight that most people, when they're experiencing stress, don't necessarily behave that way, but on occasion you might encounter somebody who does. And so how do you de-escalate? So we also are presenting information on how to improve physical safety, office safety, as well as out of office, on the farm visits, and then presenting some information from regional resources and other stakeholders can serve as partners. So it's not intended to, an FSA person isn't going to be, their job is to help farmers with their job, right? And not necessarily deal with unusual situations. So this is intended to give them a base and some resources to help, but it's not their job to solve every stressor problem, right?
So session 3 also includes information about what to do if somebody comes in and mentions suicide, whether that is very direct or whether that is more coded, and the session explains what that means. And then has some resources as well. So it really talks through how FSA personnel can be someone to listen and refer to a resource. But again, as Mark is saying, we're not expecting that people are going to solve every single problem somebody walks in having, but I can listen and I can refer you to a resource that can help.
Mm-hmm. And I'll add the suicide on here. Thank you, Courtney. Okay, so after they've gone through each of the 3 learning modules, web-based learning modules, this is when in the original format, we would have arranged for in-person training to practice skills learned and use knowledge gained through this process. So our hope is that we will be able to do the in-person and do the role-playing, etc., and then all of you would be facilitators in that in-person training as well. But we're still waiting to find out sort of how USDA wants to move forward with that, given all of the challenges, you know, just because of the government shutdown, etc.
Mark, if those were to go forward in person, are we thinking May or June?
I don't know. Esther, do you have any thoughts about sort of timeline yet?
It would probably be, let's see, yeah, either May or June.
Okay.
So as soon as we have a little more information, we would, of course, coordinate with you and check in to see, you know, what your availability is. I know with all of the changes, you have various responsibilities, so we want to try to find a time that works for FSA as well as our team.
You know, I'm glad you're bringing that up, Mark. I generally do it, you know, and it's not just about me. I'm sure everyone else has the same thing with scheduling, but I generally do a program tour in Northern Illinois about the second week of May. And I'm just a little nervous because obviously I do like 5 programs, 5 cities, 8 days. If I had to cancel that because that's the week you picked, and I feel like I have an obligation to you. So just as soon as you can let us know even a tentative week, I'd really appreciate it, because I just hesitate to schedule too much.
Yeah, what I hope will happen is that we might have a couple of different options that, and then we can check with you on all of your availability and try to find a match. So we'll try to be as sensitive as we can to all of those considerations.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, so so here you can see as of this portion of the training was I think what will probably have some language that this will be to be decided in the near future, and I think we'll just leave it at that. If they have any questions, you can just say, well, we had originally scheduled it for a certain time, but because of the government shutdown and other things, we're still waiting to sort of see how that will all play out. And in fact, maybe by the time the training starts in a couple of weeks, we'll have a better handle on it. So we'll provide updates as they come in. Okay, so and then you kind of getting close to the end of the sort of informational piece. You have the farm stress resources, which are available now. You provided the links earlier to those resources. We have the self-paced learning through the modules that are occurring March 18th through April 5th. They will have received information that, you know, beginning March 18th, modules 1 and 2 will be available, and that as soon as module 3 is ready, they will also receive notice of that. And then we have the small group discussions using Zoom, which just occurred. And then we have, I'll change this to include the April one as well. And then the in-person trainings to practice skills and knowledge and role play, etc., is to be decided in the near future. And then this is sort of, you know, they can of course ask questions, and we'll add something as per some of you, John's suggestion about, you know, and Esther's, you know, sort of a introductory sort of question. And then here you can ask these kinds of questions. What kind of challenges have come up for you? And hopefully we'll have some who have had some experiences that would be helpful to sort of think about and talk through, and then again highlight that the training is to try to help provide additional resources so that you can be more effective in those kinds of situations.
Mark,
Yes.
because this is being recorded, you're not expecting us to take notes on those things, are you?
No.
Okay.
Mm-mm. If something really pops out at you, like, oh, that was a really important example, you know, you could take note and let us know, because that would help maybe in revising the training and including that component. Or in the in-person training, we can say, oh, that was an example that came up a couple of times that we'd want to role play in. So if there's something that really popped up for you, please let us know. You know, that would be good, but we don't expect you to take notes on all of the things that might be said.
And if it's useful to share, the information that's in the training is all research-based information. Sometimes people like to know that.
Yeah. So the second question is, what do you want to know about mental health among FSA clients? Maybe there'll be some things that pop up, some examples of a situation that was, you know, difficult or unusual. And then what do you hope this training will include? Maybe that will get the juices flowing after they've seen the context that you presented. A question that I have for all of you is, should we add another question here, or can you think of something that might be really useful to spur feedback from your group?
I think a question that would be useful is what do you look forward to learning about through this training? Which is similar to what do you hope it will include, but I think that it's a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
Would you have it replace that question or just add it?
I think that's a good question. If we get responses to what do you hope the training will include, and people say things that we hadn't intended on, then it would delay our release of like module 3, for instance. So it may be better to focus on what do you look forward to learning in this.
Yeah, I would be inclined to maybe replace it. Okay.
I would agree. I would rather replace it than have two questions that are very similar, even though slightly different in their context. I think one or the other would be better.
You might also want to include a question that relates to what more they feel they need to be able to deal with these clients, because we're talking about, you know, the mental health challenges of the FSA clients, but we're not talking about them per se and the issues that they have dealing with stress. And I know that was a lousy way to put a question, but.
So Pam, what I hear you saying is a question that's something like, what do you feel you need in doing this work?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, both personally and professionally.
Yeah.
I like that.
I like that too. That's great. Thank you.
I'm just writing it down.
And might I add maybe a slight modification to the first two questions, you know, asking what do you want to know about mental health and stress among FSA clients?
Instead of challenge. So mental health and what?
And stress. Sometimes people might not necessarily equate mental health with stress.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Esther. Anything else that, if something else comes up that you think, oh, you know what, maybe it would be really useful to have this kind of question, just send me a note, or send me and Courtney a note. Really helpful. Thank you. Okay. Esther, I know that you're going to provide instructions in the message you send out to your staff who will be taking this training. A question that I have for you is, should we include that information here as well, or just say refer back to your email?
We could say refer back to the email, and then I can give, once we have the name of the training in AgLearn, like what it's tagged with, we can just maybe include the name there because there's a search function in AgLearn. But ideally, we have to work this out this week. Ideally, it would just be assigned to them. It would show up in their queue for training that's due. Sorry,
Okay.
I didn't answer your question. I will have language for you to input into that slide.
Okay, good. Okay, that sounds fine. I know they will have that information when you send it out to them, but I just want to make sure that the facilitator team has what they need in case there's a question that pops up. They can refer back to, well, go back to your email, or go back, you know, just something basic here that gives the facilitator, you know, a way to answer the question.
Yep. And for just logistical purposes too, I'm happy to sign on like maybe 15 minutes before every session starts in case, you know, anybody has any questions before you start your presentation. And I'll try and hang out for as long as I can on the call, every call.
Wow. Great. Okay, so completion time will give them an idea of expectations, so that's our estimate so far. Module 3, we're still, that's a rough estimate for Module 3, but Modules 1 and 2 are roughly about right, are pretty close. And then finally, you know, we'll send this PowerPoint to you so you can insert your instructor name and contact information. And if there are any additional questions, should we add Esther's contact information as well?
Yep.
What is the estimated time for us to give this presentation?
I anticipate about 1 hour.
And Mark, in terms of the balance, so how much should folks focus on the PowerPoint, and how much time should they dedicate to the discussion section?
That, I think, will just vary depending on how much participation there is from the group that you have. I would suspect that in some cases, there might be quite a few questions along the way, or you know, examples that FSA personnel provide. In other cases, you know, maybe they won't have much to say. Maybe that particular group hasn't had a particular challenge, or they maybe they have had a challenge, but they don't feel at liberty to share the nature of it. So I think you're going to get quite a bit of variability in how much discussion there is. That's my instinct. What do you all think? What is your impression?
Well, my thought was it came from Esther and Rosa were talking about actually being at each one of these. And I saw when we were scheduling that we're pretty like back to back. So would we have the opportunity to go over an hour? That I guess that's what I wanted to make sure. That would we push into someone else's?
There's a little buffer between each one.
Okay. So, I don't remember the schedule exactly, but that would have been my thought.
I would encourage, I don't have an issue with going over an hour, but given that some of these employees work, you know, in offices where they may have appointments with farmers.
Sure.
I would just encourage you all to stick to an hour. And then if there is a need to go over, sometimes the discussion is just going really well. And I don't want to limit that, but maybe give folks the option at the 1 hour mark to sign off.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, there are at least an hour or two between each session. So I think you should try to, as Esther said, try not to go beyond an hour.
Okay.
But if there is a healthy discussion, you could, you know, sort of say at this point, you know, we were going to officially close up. But if you'd like to continue, you have the ability and the time to, you know, stay on the line and talk a little bit more if that's helpful.
And to the discussion piece, Mark, if I might, I would prefer if we could err on the side of encouraging more discussion, and then if there isn't kind of that level of input, that you know, we're looking for, than to maybe fill it in with your comments and presentation.
And you can certainly offer examples from maybe your own experience if there's a little reticence on the part of the folks on, you know, in your session. You can say, well, here's an example that maybe might spur people on. You know, if you have one.
Mm-hmm.
So our two goals are, one is just to make sure that they have the context for the training and know what to do. Number two, try to engender a buy-in to help them see how this can be valuable for their personal lives and for their working with farmers and ranchers. And so, you know, anything that you can do to kind of try to engender that and help them see how this is can be a valuable resource to them, I think is great.
In case anyone didn't have access to the chat, I think Rosa helped us out and said the sessions, and this is in Eastern time, are 9 to 10, 11 to 12, 1 to 2, and 3 to 4 p.m. So we have an hour between each one.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Can you all see the chat session? You can click on the chat to see that. And you can let, when you run the, you know, facilitate the discussion, you can just say, you know, click on the chat if you have any questions or comments, you can type them in there. But with a small enough group that it is, my hope is that if they do have questions, they can simply just ask in a, you know, in a verbal way, you know. So you can let them know they can ask questions either way.
If you do that up front, that they're encouraging them to ask questions even throughout, you know, as we're going along, that should hopefully spur some kind of discussion as we go along, or just questions that may relate to later slides, but at least get people kind of talking a little bit.
Yeah.
I second that.
And sometimes all you need is one or two people to kind of loosen things up, and then other people sort of jump in.
I'm happy to help too. So I'll try and speak up when I can and help you enforce long, awkward pauses to encourage people to speak up.
I think this group has really good facilitation skills. So they have had the gamut of experiences and, you know, can use that experience here. Well, are there any, and just as a reference, you don't have to show this, but you know, in the training sessions, we have citations, as Courtney said, everything is research-based content in the curriculum. And the same is true here. Anything that we've said in this in this initial PowerPoint have research backing. So if anybody has a question about that, it'll be provided at the very last slide. So those are the main pieces of you know, what we hope to accomplish with the Zoom sessions. Courtney, do you have anything else to add or other thoughts?
No, not right now. And thanks everybody for being on. I know that things have been changing a little bit with our timeline, and we appreciate your flexibility and your participation in this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I just clarify in the PowerPoint things to make note of, that the link to the questionnaire will have to be cut and paste into the chat. And then all of the videos are embedded in the PowerPoint, and we just click on it and it should run.
Yes.
Okay. So here's something to look at. Before we sign off of the Zoom, practice clicking on the share screen after Mark closes this one out. There's a little checkbox and it says share computer audio or something like that. You'll need to make sure that you click on that so that everyone can hear the audio for the video.
Right. I have one more question too, Mark. Ann Silvis had asked me, are you doing a news release, or do you want any publicity for this programming that you're doing? Because if you are, she's an editor or a supplier for several ag newsletters, magazines, online blogs. And she said that if there's anything you'd like to have out there, just letting people know that this project is going on, she'd be happy to share it.
Esther, do you have any thoughts on that?
That's a really wonderful offer, and I really appreciate that. I think we're still trying to figure out how much we talk about this.
Okay.
Outside of FSA, just because this is largely an internal effort, right, to boost readiness for our employees. Right. And one of the concerns that our administrator had, you know, at the very start, that has kind of been something that, you know, keeps bouncing around in my head is, you know, we want to make sure that employees are prepared, but we don't ever want to give our customers the sense that maybe we're trying to protect ourselves from them, or that we're scared, right? So I think we're just trying to figure out how to talk about this thoughtfully. So for now, I think we would hold off on any kind of external conversation, you know, publicizing of this. I think we're probably going to start in the next few weeks just having some strategic conversations with some of, you know, some stakeholder organizations, because I do think that their input is helpful to this process, but we're just trying to be careful.
Yeah, just let us know. The thing is that farm stress is such an important issue right now, and I think that there are a lot of people out there that are thinking that a lot of the government agencies aren't very sensitive to the farmer's plight. It could be some fantastic PR if it's written well. So if you get one put together, just make sure you send it to all of us, and I'm sure we're all connected to people like I am, but just let me know. I just think it could be a very good publicity piece, but I'll let her know. Thank you. I just wanted to ask.
Thanks, Pam.
Yep.
So what I think our team will do is revise this PowerPoint based on your feedback. We'll add notes in each session, and I'll try to send it to you on Wednesday, and then if you have any questions, or if you see anything that you'd like to have tweaked, give me that feedback, and we can make any remaining small changes. And then on Friday afternoon, I'll send you the final version that you can start using on Monday. Does that sound okay for a plan? That gives us a couple of days to insert the notes and make the changes that you've suggested, which are all really helpful. And then you can have a look and review everything. And if you have anything to add, you can let me know. And then on Friday, we'll finalize and send back to you, so you're ready to go. Okay?
Hey.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you all.
Yeah.
Good to meet you all.
Okay, well, and then of course, if you have any questions in the meantime, don't hesitate. The technology, Rosa is available at any time to review any of that with you. So just let us know. And if you have any questions about the presentation or the content, let us know as well. And we really, again, appreciate your efforts and helping with this important project. And we also appreciate your flexibility with various changes along the way.
Yay.
So I think that's all I have to say. Courtney, do you have anything else?
No, I think we're good. Thanks, everybody.
Esther?
Thank you. I'm really excited about this. Thank you. It's good to meet you all today.
All right, so I think we're good for closing. We'll have a recording and push this out to you, as well as the two other additional facilitators that weren't able to make it today.